Hello, and welcome to Learning Japanese History with Y, a channel about understanding history, not just memorizing it. Today's episode is episode 2, and we're asking one big question. When rice farming arrived in ancient Japan, what actually changed? The short answer, almost everything. Society was never the same again. By the end of this video, you'll understand how a single agricultural technology, wet rice farming, triggered a chain reaction that gave birth to inequality, wealth, and political power. Let's think like historians. Let's ask, why? Before rice farming, Japan was in the Jomon period, a remarkably long era lasting over 10,000 years. Jomon people were hunters and gatherers. They moved with the seasons, following food. Because there was no surplus, no extra food to store, society was fundamentally egalitarian. Everyone needed everyone else to survive. Think of the Jomon period like an older operating system. Stable, resilient, but designed for a different world. Then, around the 3rd century BC, the Yayoi period began. And it arrived like a dramatic OS update. Wet rice farming changed the rules entirely. People no longer needed to move, they settled down. For the first time in Japanese history, it was possible to grow more food than you could eat, and to store it. That word, surplus, is the key to everything that follows. As the slide puts it, rice farming wasn't just a change in food. It was a technological revolution that rewrote the very structure of society. So how exactly did rice farming change society? Let's trace the logic, step by step. Step 1, the introduction of rice farming. Around the 3rd century BC, wet rice cultivation arrived in northern Kyushu, brought by migrants from the continent. Step 2, settlement. Because rice fields require year-round maintenance, irrigation, planting, harvesting, people had to stay in one place. The era of wandering was over. Villages formed. Step 3, surplus. A good rice harvest produced more than people needed. For the first time, food could be stored beyond immediate needs. This is a massive shift in human psychology, from thinking about today's meal, to planning for next year. Step 4, accumulation. Not everyone accumulated equally. Some people were better farmers, had more land, or were more skilled at organizing work. Differences between individuals and groups began to grow. Step 5, power. Those who controlled the surplus became powerful. Chiefs, wealthy landowners, ritual leaders, these figures emerged because surplus created something worth protecting and distributing. So the chain looks like this. Technological innovation, right pointing arrow, increased productivity, right pointing arrow, surplus, right pointing arrow, inequality, right pointing arrow, birth of power. This isn't just Japanese history. This is a universal pattern that appears across civilizations. Keep this chain in mind, we'll come back to it later. Now, historians don't just accept a theory without evidence. So let's look at something concrete, pottery. Jomon pottery is striking. It's thick-walled, elaborately decorated with rope patterns, and often shaped into expressive, almost spiritual forms. It was clearly made for meaning as much as function. Yayoi pottery looks completely different. It's thin-walled, reddish-brown, and practically plain. The decorations are gone. What happened? The answer is efficiency. Thinner walls heat up faster, better for cooking large quantities of rice. And the simpler design made it faster and easier to produce in volume. Rice farming required large-scale storage and food processing, and pottery had to keep up. What does this tell us? Society's priorities shifted from expression to efficiency. The Jomon pot asked, what does this mean? The Yayoi pot asked, does this work? That's a profound cultural shift visible in a piece of clay. But where did this agricultural revolution come from? Let's follow the map. The origin of wet rice farming in Japan traces back to the Jiangnan region of China, the area around the Yangtze River Delta, which is still one of China's most important rice-growing regions today. From there, the technology crossed to the southern Korean peninsula. And from the Korean coast, migrants, possibly refugees fleeing the chaos of China's warring states period and the Qin unification, crossed the sea to northern Kyushu. Northern Kyushu, specifically the area around the Genkai Sea, was the entry point. The geography made sense. Short sea crossings, similar climate to the Korean peninsula, and fertile coastal plains suitable for rice. Crucially, rice farming didn't come alone. Metal tools, bronze and iron, were introduced at the same time. This was a complete technological package. Not just new food, but new tools to produce it. From northern Kyushu, the farming culture gradually spread eastward. into the Kinki region and eventually to eastern Japan. We've established that surplus was the turning point. But let's dig deeper. Why exactly did surplus lead to such fundamental social change? First, let's ask, who benefited? Not everyone equally. The people who accumulated the most surplus rice were those with the most land, the most labor under their control, and the ability to organize collective farming work. These people became what we might call chiefs, the first proto-rulers of Japanese society. Think about it this way: in a hunter-gatherer society, if you catch a large animal, you share it. You have to, there's no way to store it, and hoarding food earns you enemies, not allies. But in an agricultural society, if you harvest more rice than others, you can store it. And storing it means you have leverage. Second, why did this happen at this particular moment in time? The timing wasn't random. China was in turmoil. The Warring States period, followed by Qin's brutal unification campaigns, displaced huge numbers of people. Some of these refugees brought agricultural knowledge with them. Add to that the climate suitability of northern Kyushu for rice cultivation, and you have a perfect storm: geopolitics, climate, and population movement all converging at once. And third, what changed fundamentally in how people thought? Before farming, the basic question was, what do we eat today? After farming, a new question emerged: what will we own tomorrow? Land became property, and where there is property, there is inheritance, legal systems, and conflict. The concept of owning something, really owning it, across generations, was born in the rice paddies of the Yayoi period. We mentioned that metal tools arrived alongside rice farming, but not all metals served the same purpose. Bronze and iron played very different roles, and understanding the difference reveals a lot about how early rulers exercised power. Bronze implements, dotaku bells, mirrors, ceremonial weapons, were objects of ritual and authority. They were expensive to produce, beautiful to behold, and often not practical for everyday use. A bronze bell in a ceremony wasn't there to tell time. It was there to say, I am powerful. I have access to rare materials and skilled craftsmen. Bronze was the crown. It displayed authority. Iron implements, on the other hand, were entirely practical. Iron farming tools made agriculture more efficient, harder blades for cutting and digging. Iron weapons gave military advantage. Iron was the muscle of the Yayoi economy. So Yayoi rulers operated with a two-part toolkit: bronze to demonstrate their legitimacy, iron to enforce it. This pattern of symbolic authority backed by real military power isn't unique to ancient Japan. You can see it in pharaohs, medieval kings, and even modern states. The forms change, but the structure is the same. Now here's where this gets really interesting, and relevant to our own time. Look at the pattern we've traced in the Yayoi period. A new technology arrives, productivity increases, surplus accumulates, inequality grows, and a new ruling class emerges. Now apply that same logic to the Industrial Revolution. In 18th century Europe, the steam engine transformed production. Factories replaced farms as the engine of the economy. The new surplus wasn't rice, it was capital, money, machines, and manufactured goods. And the new ruling class wasn't chiefs. They were capitalists. Now think about today. We're living through what many call the AI revolution. Artificial intelligence and automation are transforming productivity across every industry. The new form of surplus isn't rice or capital, it's data. And the slide ends with a question: who becomes the new ruling class in an AI-driven world? That question mark on the slide is intentional. We don't know the answer yet, but history suggests the structure will be the same. Technology creates haves and have-nots. The Yayoi period is not ancient history, it's a mirror. History is not something you passively receive. It's something you actively think through. Here are 3 prompts you can try with an AI, like ChatGPT or Claude, to test and deepen your structural understanding of today's topic. First, explain in 5 steps the causality of why social stratification arose with the introduction of rice cultivation in the Yayoi period. This is about reconstructing the causal chain yourself, not just repeating what you've heard. Second, it is said that Jomon society was egalitarian and Yayoi society was stratified, but are there any counterarguments or different views? This is about critical thinking. History is interpretation, not just fact. Challenging the standard view is a sign of mature historical thinking. Third, analyze the structure of inequality generation caused by agriculture, comparing it with the modern AI revolution. This connects the past to the present, exactly what we did on the previous slide. Try these prompts. Write down what surprises you. That's where real learning happens. Let's close with 3 keywords that capture the entire transformation from Jomon to Yayoi. Number 1. Surplus, your jaw. The culture of saving, born from rice farming. When you can produce more than you need, accumulation becomes possible. And accumulation is the starting point of inequality. Number 2. Settlement, Dingzhu. When people stopped moving, land became property. Fixed communities formed, and with them came ownership, borders, and belonging. Number 3. Power, Kenroku. Someone had to manage and redistribute the surplus. That role created the ruling class, chiefs, and eventually kings. Surplus, settlement, power. These 3 words explain the Yayoi period. And they explain much of what follows in Japanese history. That's it for episode 2 of Learning Japanese History with Why.